Ethiopia is a land shrouded in many mysteries and remarkable features, much like an ancient book that invites you to explore its pages more deeply and in greater detail, never wanting to stop at any single page. However, it is a country that does not adhere to the conventional rules of time and space, and this is precisely what makes it truly unique. One of the most striking manifestations of its distinctiveness is the peculiar calendar followed here. In the world we are familiar with, based on the Western system of reckoning, we consider that the 23rd year of the new millennium has already begun. And this makes perfect sense for most countries around the world, where everything operates according to familiar measures and schedules. But in Ethiopia, the situation is entirely different. They measure time according to their own calendar, which has its history and a special system of counting. Therefore, when you might think that it is already the 8th, 10th, or even the 23rd year, the locals may tell you that it is only the 15th year for them. This is not just a mistaken answer or a distortion of temporal understanding. It is a well-established fact embedded in their culture and calendar, which differs from what we are used to. And that is not all. In this country, there are peoples for whom clothing is more of a wardrobe accessory, an option, and an element of traditional culture, rather than a necessary feature for appearance or protection from the weather. Imagine that in ancient royal Ethiopia, over 2,000 years ago, among secluded mountain tribes and far from large cities, people managed without the fabrics familiar to us, preferring other forms of protection, perhaps natural materials or simply living without adornments and unnecessary details. This feature, just one aspect of Ethiopia's and its people's uniqueness. And let's add that the country is famous for its homeland of coffee, a beverage worldwide associated with alertness, morning inspiration, and coziness. But don't rush to conclusions. It's not that Ethiopians drink coffee the same way we do. Here, there are special coffee ceremonies that can last for hours, turning a simple drink into a true cultural event, an intoxicating ritual with a rich history. Each ceremony is a moment of unity, respect, and tradition passed down through generations, gradually transforming into an art form and a symbol of national identity. We should also remember that Ethiopia preserves some of the oldest Christian traditions, which are alive to this day and shape the spiritual face of the country. Orthodoxy exists not just as history and a monument, but as a living, integral part of their culture. In some monasteries, women are even forbidden to step over the threshold. This is a sacred rule and an established tradition, deeply rooted in the spiritual beliefs of the people. And all of this is not merely a strict rule. It is one of the characteristic features of their culture and way of life, an important link in their traditional system of values. If you portray this entire scene as a kind of magical exoticism, then undoubtedly you're right. Ethiopia truly looks like a land where magic has somehow come to life. But behind this magic lies something deeper, an extraordinary cultural shock that can make you reflect on many things. So the first fact that cannot be overlooked is that Ethiopia is one of the oldest countries on the planet, located at the very crossroads of continents. It is not just a territory marked on a map, it is a true cradle of humanity. Here, some of the earliest settlements can be found, where people began leading a sedentary lifestyle more than 12,000 years ago. This region is not merely a historical era or an archive of forgotten times. It is a living witness to the very dawn of mankind. Moreover, Ethiopia is the only country on the African continent that managed to preserve its independence from the colonial ambitions of European powers. Unlike most neighboring countries, they were able to protect their culture, language, and autonomy, all despite external threats and hardships. Such authenticity is undeniably felt throughout, in the language spoken by the locals, in the cuisine with its rich aromas and spices that conquer the hearts of visitors and surprise the palate with each dish. This country, like a temple of ancient traditions, holds within it many unique values. It is home to one of the oldest Christian churches in the world, carved directly into the rock, an architectural wonder in a sacred place, symbolizing resilience, faith, and spiritual continuity. Time in Ethiopia even flows differently. There are two calendars, one of which is 7 years behind the one we are used to, the Western calendar. Everything around is imbued with this astonishing contradiction. One face, ancient and modern, alive yet keeping the mysteries of the past. All this creates a unique atmosphere where the past and present intertwine like two neighbors forced to share space and time. Ethiopia is like a story laid out on the pages of an ancient book, where each page is filled with discoveries, and each new chapter contains wonderful surprises. Here, time flows according to a very particular rhythm. If you suddenly decide to work on organizing your own time or plans, be prepared for a strong cultural shock. Everything that seems familiar takes on a special sound and meaning in Ethiopia, because according to their calendar, the 137th year has already begun in this country. And it's not a mistake, but a factual reality. They measure time according to their own calendar, where the day starts with the sunrise, not at midnight, as we are accustomed to. This country seems to live by its own rules, creating a unique atmosphere full of secrets and true wonders. It is not just a set of numbers or dry numerical values. It is a reflection of a profound philosophy embedded in the concept of time that permeates all aspects of life in Ethiopia. Each number here signifies not only a specific duration, but also contains a distinctive understanding and attitude towards the passage of time, different from our usual notions. Imagine yourself as a traveler entering this country for the first time, and now you must establish your own daily routine, deciding that it's time to start the breakfast ritual precisely at 8 in the morning. However, the people around you gently, without any signs of haste, will tell you that it's just 2 o'clock local time. At that moment, you feel as if you've stepped into a film like Back to the Future, but without a magic machine capable of transporting you across eras and dimensions. Everything begins with a simple glance at the clock, then at the surroundings, and each time you're again amazed at how everything is arranged here. The people living in distant, vividly colorful Ethiopia appear calm and composed as they discuss their plans for tomorrow or even the day after tomorrow. Their life seems to flow steadily and harmoniously, as if the entire world here keeps its rhythm internally, unhurriedly, as if everything is happening exactly as it was meant to. Meanwhile, you, like a lemming caught in an endless cycle of time, try to understand how the system works and what it leads to. In Ethiopia, you will need to grasp not only the mechanisms of local clocks, but also realize how this unconventional approach to time influences your usual understanding of daily distribution, tasks, and rhythms. Forget about meticulously planned schedules down to the minute and second, because here time moves at its own unique, special pace, which often seems entirely unrelated to our laws and concepts of precision and order. The true uniqueness of this approach, its ancient roots, and cultural foundation make Ethiopia simultaneously fascinating and mysterious. In this country, time is not just a mechanical, soulless mechanism racing against minutes. It is an entire culture where every hour is filled with special meaning, traditions, and spiritual significance. If you want to be in harmony with the local residents and understand their inner world, you will need to learn to perceive time exactly as it is, free, unhurried, and filled with meanings that often seem alien and elusive to us. And here is the third fact, deserving special attention. The coffee ritual, turned into a true art form, into a ceremony that sometimes takes between 45 minutes and an hour. If you think that in Ethiopia, coffee is just a beverage enjoyed during a short break, you are mistaken. Here, coffee is much more than just a liquid in a cup. It is a whole tradition, a complete ceremony embedded with deep history and the culture of the people. Preparing this drink becomes a significant event, capable of taking up a considerable amount of time and attention. And imagine, not only to quench thirst or to invigorate, this process can sometimes take around 45 minutes, and sometimes even longer, as it is filled with rituals and nuances that are impossible to imagine without them. It all begins with roasting green coffee beans in a traditional pan, filling the space with a unique, rich aroma, a scent that, once embedded in memory, will accompany you in your dreams and for many years to come. Next, these aroma-saturated beans are ground in a mortar. Rhythmic movements and sounds during this process make your heart beat faster, as each action is performed with respect for an ancient culture. The subsequent step is brewing the coffee in a special vessel called a jabina. Hot water is poured in and slowly heated. During this process, friends and family gather around, and lively conversations begin, filled with genuine laughter, sincere smiles, and discussions on a wide range of topics, from simple peasant matters to profound philosophical reflections. This is not just a moment of tasting the drink, but a true social event where coffee becomes a unifying symbol of communication and unity. When at last a cup of this rich, fragrant beverage appears before you, you realize that it is not just coffee, but a piece of Ethiopia's soul. Each drop contains the story of a people, the warmth of human connection, and centuries-old traditions passed down through generations. Visiting Ethiopia is not just a trip to a place where coffee is brewed and consumed. It is a journey into a culture where every action and movement is imbued with meaning and respect for ancestral heritage. And if you decide to stay here for a long time, be prepared not just to drink coffee, but to become part of this extraordinary ritual, which contains deep knowledge, subtle ethics, and artistic mastery unique to this ancient land and its rich culture. Lastly, the fourth fact concerns orthodoxy, a religion carved into the rocks, which holds an important place in the spiritual life of the country. If you think that orthodoxy is only about the clerical vestments, long services, and church rituals, you must reconsider your ideas when in Ethiopia. Here, orthodoxy is much more than external ceremonies. It is a living, strong faith deeply rooted in the culture and history of the people. These believers see their spirituality not only in prayers and church rites, but also in architecture, art, icons, and traditions that are passed from generation to generation. Especially famous are the churches carved directly into rock cliffs, holding ancient heritage and spiritual knowledge from bygone eras. These rock-hewn monasteries are true masterpieces of architecture, symbolizing not only faith, but also resilience, spiritual strength, and Ethiopia's cultural legacy. As you immerse yourself in the atmosphere of these sanctuaries, you will realize that orthodoxy in this country is something much more vibrant and multifaceted than mere church rituals. Part 5 of 17. This is the embodiment of a specific spiritual tradition, intertwined with a 1,000-year history and folk devotion that permeates all layers of life. You will be introduced to an extraordinary world of religious values where faith blends seamlessly with art, and every motion, every detail is imbued with deep meaning and spiritual power. So when preparing to visit Ethiopia, be ready to embrace not only its natural beauty, but also its spiritual heritage, which has supported and shaped its cultural identity for centuries. In countries where faith and tradition are deeply rooted, Christianity has not merely survived, it has transformed into something unique and truly astonishing. One vivid example of this spiritual legacy is the city of Lalibela. Not just a settlement, but an entire complex of ancient stone churches skillfully carved directly into the rocks. This remarkable architectural monument creates a special mystical atmosphere, as if inviting every visitor to immerse themselves in the mysteries of eras long past. Imagine, you stand before a majestic church carved from a solid stone block and suddenly feel history, centuries later, as if alive and breathing inside you, nesting in every cell of your consciousness. Worship services in such places are conducted quite differently from the usual. There is no monotonous droning, typical of many traditional churches. Instead, lively, faith-filled singing, the ringing of bells, and people constantly moving through the air. Parishioners participating in the ceremonies, not just out of ritual, but as a unique expression of their spiritual essence. Their involvement seems to animate the entire church atmosphere, filling it with a special vitality and warmth. What is particularly fascinating is that Christianity in Ethiopia appeared long before it did in most European countries. This is not merely a minor fact, but an entire era in human history. Ethiopia was among the first states to officially adopt Christianity, and this ancient connection gives profound significance to every prayer and worship service. Feeling part of such a centuries-old heritage is not just about gaining knowledge. It evokes a sense of belonging to something much greater and eternal. In this country, faith is not just words and rituals, but a way of life. Every prayer is imbued with a special meaning, difficult to express in words, as it is permeated with deep spirituality connected to centuries-old traditions. Living here in Ethiopia, I am convinced that it is faith that allows one to see this world with a warmth and understanding unique to this place. Ethiopian Orthodoxy is not merely a religion, it is a whole culture, steeped in antiquity and centuries-old customs. This wealth of traditions truly deserves to be seen with your own eyes, felt and understood. Another striking fact of unusual beauty is the appearance of discs and the mysterious adornments on the lower lips of tribes from the Omo Valley. If you previously thought that piercings, tattoos, or unusual jewelry appeared only in modern society, you were likely underestimating the richness and depth of the traditions of these peoples. It is precisely here, in these distant lands, that women insert large discs into their lower lips, sometimes reaching the size of a palm. This is not merely a decoration, it is a symbol of beauty and high status, an expression of individuality and belonging to one's tribe. Wearing such discs signifies demonstrating strength, dignity, and respect from society. The larger the disc, the higher a woman's status is considered within the tribe, and this rule is strictly observed. Words cannot fully convey the pride each of them feels when wearing this adornment. But this is far from the only extraordinary tradition. The Mercy tribe has its own peculiarities that reflect their internal order and worldview. For example, women of this tribe do not just wear discs, they actively participate in ritual battles, defending their honor and beauty. These combat contests are not only a test of strength and agility, but also an important cultural rite that strengthens bonds within the community. The Mercy are a whole culture with their own customs, where every action is filled with deep meaning, leaving a mark in the hearts of their participants. Another tribe, Hamer, has its own unique customs. Here, women create a bright and memorable appearance by painting their bodies in vibrant colors, while men prove their bravery in the most unusual way, by jumping over herds of goats. These traditions may seem foreign to us, completely distant from common ideas of beauty and bravery, but it is precisely these traditions that make life in this region vibrant, rich, and in their own way, astonishing. If you decide to embark on a journey through Ethiopia, be prepared for an unchanging kaleidoscope of vivid impressions, counters with a lively, subtly rich culture, where every action and tradition are deeply intertwined with the history and way of life of the peoples of this amazing country. Even the simplest customs acquire a special meaning here, turning into an important part of the centuries-old heritage of these peoples. Regarding other traditions, it is impossible not to mention the strictness with which internal rules are observed in some monasteries. For example, the men's club located within Debri Damo Monastery is known for its strictness and specific laws. Inside this spiritual institution, there are many customs and rules that are treated with respect and seriousness, as they serve not only to strengthen the spirit, but also to maintain order and harmony. It is also worth noting that in Ethiopia, there are places where women are strictly forbidden to enter, and this concerns particular ritual or monastic territories where strict traditions and sacred customs require absolute respect and adherence. One such unique and mysterious place on the map of Ethiopia is the Debre Damo Monastery, located high atop a rocky ridge. This is not just a structure, but a true testament to ancient traditions that have persisted to this day. Climbing to it requires scaling a steep, rocky wall using a taut rope, reminiscent of a survival or adventure film about overcoming hardships. This path symbolizes not only physical challenges, but also spiritual preparation. Interestingly, only men are allowed inside the monastery, a historical norm rooted in centuries-old traditions. It is not a whim or caprice, but part of an authentic culture that strongly maintains its significance even today. Founded in the 6th century, this very monastery holds many rare and sacred relics considered a divine heritage of the region. The local men carefully guard these treasures as if they were their own eyes, each act of protection deemed of utmost importance and sacredness. The residents of this area see it as a sacred duty to preserve them from outsiders and potential threats. Women, despite their genuine desire to learn about the history and see the magnificent frescoes or ancient manuscripts, only dream of one day entering this mystical place. But their dreams are destined not to come true. Access is strictly for men, and no persuasion or request can alter this established order. Around the monastery, not only monks wander freely, numerous wild goats graze as well. Animals roam peacefully over the hills and cliffs, and the path to these sacred sites is forever closed to women. This enclosed territory creates a special atmosphere of a men's club where no one is allowed without permission, and where the boundaries between the secular and the sacred are often so clearly defined that only the strong and worthy are admitted. Therefore, anyone planning to visit Ethiopia and dream of reaching the summit of Debre Damo should remember that entry is granted only to men. No social opinion or ultimatums can influence these strict rules. This place vividly demonstrates that ancient traditions, despite globalization and changing times, are still alive and continue to shape the way of life in the region, holding it within the framework of sacred norms. Another fascinating aspect is the country's musical heritage, based on a unique system of musical modes that is entirely different from modern Western standards. Ethiopia is not only a land of ancient monasteries and forgotten manuscripts, but also a repository of primal musical treasures. Every inhabitant of this country seems to carry within themselves a unique musical universe that reveals itself with each new song and melody. If you happen to hear Asmar, a distinctive genre of Ethiopian music, you will undoubtedly understand what it's about. This music is so powerful and moving that its sound seems to penetrate directly into the heart, like a sharply sharpened dagger piercing the very essence of your soul. Asmar is not just a collection of melodies. It is a complete system that combines improvisation, social satire, and profound philosophical meaning. In these compositions, musicians do more than perform their pieces. They seem to engage in a lively dialogue with the listeners. They use a language of emotions and metaphors, whose great power can be compared to a personal conversation with good friends. As if during the evening, they humorously and witfully share with you the secrets and sharp issues hidden within the surrounding world. Asmar is not merely entertainment. It is a powerful means to convey important, often urgent messages to the audience that demand attention. In this art form, Ethiopians are capable not only of laughing at themselves and the world around them, but also of critically evaluating it, giving even the most serious topics a light, sometimes playful tone. Performers of this music often employ theatrical techniques, adding drama to their performances, which makes each performance truly mesmerizing and memorable. And if you ever find yourself in Addis Ababa and hear live music flowing from doors and windows in the evening, stop and do not pass by. It is not just a musical performance, but a genuine spectacle filled with emotion and meaning. Every note and every line of the songs can make you ponder life as a complex, multi-layered mosaic where everything is interconnected and holds its own special significance. Now I will tell you about Ethiopia's culinary features and gastronomic traditions that are ready to overturn your usual perceptions of food. In Ethiopia, where bread is not just a product but a whole culture, you will experience a true gastronomic revelation. At the table, instead of regular bread, you will surely encounter injera, a large sour pancake that serves simultaneously as a plate and a side dish. This unusual, lisp-like bread has a vivid flavor, enriched with a sour note, and is an essential part of every meal. It is used to gather sauces, pieces of meat or vegetables, and it gives dishes a special freshness and richness. Such an approach to food becomes not only a gastronomic diversity, but also part of the cultural identity. Yes, you heard correctly. Ethiopia has a tradition that may seem quite unusual to our perception. One of the key features of the local cuisine, which often surprises tourists, is the custom of eating with hands, which in our culture is considered rather exceptional. This undoubtedly ancient approach to eating is not merely a formality or tradition, but more like a deeply rooted custom and ritual that is present at almost every meal. All this ancient practice occurs in an atmosphere where knives and forks give way to hands, almost returning newcomers to childhood, to that carefree time when the concept of dividing food did not exist. Take, for example, the habit of taking a small piece of injera, the national bread of Ethiopia, which is called exactly that, and scooping up delicious stewed meat, juicy vegetables, or anything else from a shared plate. Food here is transformed not just into nourishment, but into a ritual, an act in which all participants in the meal are involved. This way of eating often confuses travelers, especially those accustomed to modern standards of etiquette in personal space. Not everyone is ready to comfortably dip their fingers into a common dish, sharing food with others around them. However, despite this, such an approach fosters a special atmosphere of unity, strengthening bonds between people and turning an ordinary meal into a true event filled with warmth and sincere communication. Surrounding you is family or a circle of friends, each sharing something personal, offering a piece of their native culture and friendliness. Each piece of injera becomes not just food, but a symbol of mutual understanding, trust, and respect, rooted in the traditions of the people. Now, it is worth mentioning how the concept of age is perceived in this country. In Ethiopia, as in many parts of the world, there exists a particular philosophy colored by unique perceptions of time and the cycle of life. Locals often do not give much importance to the exact date of their birth. For them, it is not so critical how many years have passed since they came into the world. They seem to have their own internal calendar based on major historical events, natural phenomena, or seasonal changes. Thus, instead of specific year references, a person might say they were born the year there was a lot of rain in the country, or after the king returned from exile. This reflects their special attitude towards time. It is not precisely divided into years. It is somehow organically woven into their way of life and worldview. This may seem unusual or even strange to outsiders, since for most people, concepts of age and time are tied to calendars and age markers. However, in that culture, everything is quite different. Age is more like a historical marker, significant only within the context of this unique perspective on life. In one remote, forgotten village, I once met a man whose life could be described as a living encyclopedia of eras. He told me he was born in the very memorable year when a car first appeared in their region. Imagine how astonishing and uniquely meaningful it is to perceive your life in terms of counting the years from the first sight of smoke rising from a primitive exhaust pipe. Their perception of time is not merely a measurement mechanism, but a philosophy in which each passing season, each change or significant event becomes a separate chapter in their life story, not just another mark on a calendar. This does not mean that these people are unaware of their age. On the contrary, they simply view age differently, assigning it symbolic and cultural significance. For them, a person is like a book, whose pages are separated by commas and important events, rather than just dry numbers. Therefore, when travelers heading to Ethiopia encounter the fact that locals discuss not their age or date of birth, but the key life events that shape their destinies, they should remember, in this country, time is not only hours and calendars, it is a special perception of life that connects everything with everything and assigns value not to numbers, but to the events that occur on a person's path. Now let's talk about traditions related to marriage culture in this mysterious country. Here, wedding rites and rituals are not just expressions of romantic feelings or beautiful ceremonies. They largely represent important social and even business alliances, where parents occupy a special place. In most cases, especially in remote and traditional villages, the decision to hold a wedding is often made by the family itself, and the young people are often informed about the upcoming event long in advance, sometimes even without the prior consent of the bride and groom. Imagine a situation where you, minding your own business or having dinner, are suddenly told that your marriage has already been arranged and that you have a future spouse or fiancé, about whom you knew nothing until that moment. This can shock, surprise, or even provoke rejection in a person accustomed to our approach to personal choice and freedom. But it is precisely within these traditions that their particular social meaning lies, strengthening bonds between families and creating the foundation for long-term stability and strength of the marital union. In this context, it creates the impression that in Ethiopia, a wedding is more a matter of the family than just two lovers. Here, the mutual consent of both parties is valued, the interests of parents are considered, and the personal opinion of the young people is often regarded as less important than the interests of the community and traditions, which are imbued with special significance and respect. The groom in some cultures may undertake a ceremonial act that is not inherently criminal, but carries symbolic weight and is deeply rooted in tradition. Sometimes he makes an initial agreement with the bride's parents, and at that moment, through mutual consent, the so-called kidnapping of the bride is carried out, which involves her light and symbolic capture. This act is not perceived as a crime or illegal abduction, but as an ancient tradition that symbolizes something else: the groom's readiness to take full responsibility for the fate of the future wife and the entire future family. This custom is often present among various ethnic groups, serving as an expression of serious intentions and emphasizing the importance of family ties. In turn, Ethiopia has a practice of arranging marriages with minimal expenses, and large-scale festive celebrations mostly remain outside the tradition. In such cases, the main value lies in performing ancient rites and observing established ceremonies that link two family lines and strengthen their union. To create a strong family, neither wealth nor pompous events are necessary. The most important thing is respect for cultural traditions, their deep understanding, and timely adherence. In this value system, a wedding is seen not just as a celebration of love and romance, but as a vital social event that promotes the strengthening and preservation of kinship ties and the transmission of traditional values to the next generations. This emphasizes that, in this culture, spiritual and social stability are more important than fleeting grandeur and material displays. Therefore, when contemplating a wedding in Ethiopia, one can reasonably expect that the romantic aspect will give way to a strict focus on the importance of traditional rituals and duties that connect families and reinforce their bonds. In this context, beauty and celebration become part of a profound cultural dramaturgy created over centuries and passed down from generation to generation. Now let us shift to the amazing and mysterious world of nature, where one of the most impressive volcanoes, Erta Ale, takes the stage, capable of astonishing the imagination with its power and unique beauty. This natural giant is not merely a mountain spewing fire and ash, but a living phenomenon that attracts not only geologists and volcanology experts, but also extreme travelers willing to risk everything for unforgettable experiences and new sensations. The lava lake located in the crater of this volcano is one of the few such phenomena in the world that constantly bubbles and boils, like a giant cauldron ready to release its fiery flows and fury at any moment. It is therefore also called the gates to hell, a metaphor highlighting the danger and majestic power of this natural marvel. Rising columns of smoke and fiery rivers of lava create an atmosphere around the volcano imbued with mysticism and sometimes eerie sensations, as if taken from the pages of the most terrifying and thrilling horror movies or science fiction novels. A journey to Erta Ale is not merely a trip, it is a true test for body and spirit, requiring considerable willpower, endurance, and determination. To reduce the effects of the scorching sun and avoid exhaustion, many travelers begin their ascent at night when the temperature slightly drops, and the moisture does not evaporate so intensely, helping to prevent excessive fatigue and dehydration. On the way to the summit, they face harsh conditions: exhausting heat typical of the region's climate, lack of water, thirst becomes a constant companion, as well as numerous mosquitoes, which pose yet another challenge, and essentially curious spectators of this adventure. All these difficulties vanish instantly when one is faced with truly breathtaking nature. Lava flows shimmering in the night darkness, as if bathed in magical light, awakening in every person a sense of Earth's ancient and primordial power. Gazing into these fiery rivers, one understands. All earthly worries and anxieties seem to dissolve in this hypnotic and mesmerizing spectacle. It penetrates the soul and evokes something deeply ancient within us. Survival instincts that helped our distant ancestors overcome hardships and preserve life in a constantly changing world. However, this volcano is not merely a tourist attraction or a sightseeing spot. Around Erta Ale live people for whom it is an integral part of their lives, culture, and traditions. This natural giant is their neighbor, mentor, and often even a source of fear, for it can remind them of itself at any moment with a powerful eruption. That is why a trip or journey to Erta Ale is not just entertainment or adventure. It is a profound and multi-layered immersion into pristine nature and the eternal connection between humans and the Earth's force. Finally, let us turn to the exceptional architectural monuments of Ethiopia, among which the unique traditional houses, built from natural materials, earth and wood, stand out. These dwellings, hidden in the endless expanses of travels, serve not only as shelters for the people inhabiting these lands, but also embodied one of the oldest forms of human culture. They are like living testimonies of centuries-old traditions and ancestral wisdom, preserved to this day and continuing to play a vital role in the region's cultural identity. This country is a unique and mysterious corner of our planet, renowned not only for its lands strewn with volcanic craters and desolate, lifeless deserts, but also for the remarkable architectural monuments that have survived and continue to exist despite the pressures of globalization and modern construction. Imagine crossing the border into this region and entering a small village where the houses look as if they were created not by ordinary builders, but by real gods who lived in ancient times. Structures seemingly taken from a fairy tale or myth. Here, traditional methods of construction are still used, relying on ancient knowledge passed down through generations, from clay bricks and straw, giving these homes a special charm and warmth that evoke truly heartfelt emotions. These structures are not merely residences, but genuine works of art, expressions of national culture, keepers of history, and soulful reflections of their creators. In each such house lies a special care and love, for their owners realize that these homes are an inseparable part of their lives, symbols of their traditions and heritage, which they maintain and pass on with reverence from generation to generation. Every year, the residents of this area restore their homes, updating them both inside and out, convinced that these buildings are not just shelters, but reflections of their cultural values and spiritual foundations. When you step inside, you're overwhelmed by a sense of harmony. Everything is arranged to create a cozy atmosphere that unites people and reminds them of warm traditions. Small rooms feature cozy corners for socializing, where families and friends gather, surrounded by antique household items that transport visitors to the ambiance of bygone eras and hold stories from long-departed times. These houses serve not only as reliable protection from bad weather and natural disasters, but also create a special aura that brings people together and awakens their sense of unity and belonging to something greater. It's important to remember that such structures are not only beautiful sights, but also vital necessities in conditions of limited resources and harsh climates. In these challenging environments where natural resources are nearly exhausted, such homes become a real salvation, living testaments to the remarkable ingenuity and wisdom of local inhabitants who have learned to live in profound harmony with nature. Therefore, when you have the opportunity to see these remarkable constructions, keep in mind that each one is not just a house, but a whole story filled with life, labor, and deep knowledge of how to survive and preserve one's culture under the most difficult circumstances. The next interesting fact concerns the Danakil Desert, a place where the earth itself seems to come into contact with space. Ethiopia can proudly boast not only its rich cultural and architectural heritage, but also one of the hottest, most inhospitable, and mysterious corners of our planet. A place that inspires awe with its unusual landscapes, as if you have been transported to another planet. Imagine vast expanses where acidic lakes boil and surge, dense sulfuric fumes rise from the ground, and bright saturated colors of soils and waters create a truly majestic and astonishing natural scene. This region is not just a geological anomaly, but a true masterpiece of natural and geological art, where every moment reminds us of the power and vastness of natural forces. Temperatures here can reach as high as 46 degrees Celsius, making this place extremely harsh for human life, turning traveling through these lands into a true test of endurance and resilience. When you venture into these areas, you must be prepared for the relentless heat of the sun and the ruthlessly stretching landscapes in all directions, which demand not only physical readiness, but also high mental toughness. Here, every minute is a struggle for survival, and every step reflects patience and courage. If you think that sunlight is merely a reason to relax on the beach and enjoy the summer warmth, then in this desert you will have to abandon your usual protective measures and adapt to conditions that demonstrate the invisible power of nature itself. In the surrounding landscapes, ruthless beauty prevails, where the land itself decides which of the omnipresent travelers will survive and which will not. Local tribes, such as the Afar, have become well accustomed to these harsh conditions and lead their lives according to strict traditions, willingly passed down from generation to generation. Their way of life is based on cattle herding, which allows them to survive in this infertile, untamable desert. But every morning here is a new battle. Each moment is a challenge to fate, and resilience and courage are their only allies in this ongoing struggle for survival. This great yet tragic place demonstrates the power of natural forces, as well as forgotten civilizations that once inhabited these lands, leaving behind only faint mentions and shadows of the past. It is not difficult to imagine that finding traces of human life here is as challenging as finding a needle in a haystack, since the mysteries and secrets of this region remain unresolved for centuries. The Danakil Desert is not just a desert, it is an entire universe in itself, serving as a living testament to the confrontation between humans and nature, its beauty and brutality, its richness and mystery. This remarkable place is where reality and fantasy are mysteriously intertwined, creating the sensation that you have entered another world. It seems as if nature itself has risen anew, transforming into something much more mysterious and incomprehensible than our familiar environment. Inside this corner of the planet, a realization seems to awaken. Our Earth can be not only a cozy and familiar home, but also a kind of test for the human spirit and physical endurance. When you decide to venture into this unexplored place, be prepared for it to leave an unforgettable, perhaps never fading, mark on your soul. Such a journey as if transports you to another planet where the atmosphere and sensations differ radically from your usual conditions, where every minute is filled with unusual feelings and impressions. Moving on to consider Ethiopian culture, it is impossible not to note that this is not just a country marked on the world map. It is a living organism, rich in unique traditions, ancient history, and enduring spiritual values. Ethiopia is not only a territory that has preserved its distinctive features for centuries, but also a place where ideas are born and develop, inspiring millions of people in the most diverse corners of the planet. Many remarkable phenomena exist in this regard, such as the Rastafarian movement and Rastafari followers. For their adherents, this land is sacred, incomprehensible in its profound meaning and compelling power. Their faith and beliefs are shrouded in magic and mysticism, as Ethiopia has been perceived for centuries as a sacred space connected to ancient legends and spiritual orders. For them, Haile Selassie, one of the most famous emperors of this nation, became more than just a historical figure. He transformed into a messianic symbol, representing the struggle for freedom and justice, and the people's right to decide their own destiny. It was his speech at the United Nations, delivered in 1963, that became a powerful message to the entire world. In that speech, he spoke about the need for self-governance, resistance to colonization, and the Ethiopian people's right to freedom. It stirred deep emotions in the hearts of listeners, inspiring change in the fight against adversity. Ethiopia, which managed to retain its independence during the era of European colonial expansion, became a symbol of hope and an example of resilience for many. This small but fundamentally strong nation rightfully stands as a beacon of hope for those who genuinely struggle for freedom and the right to determine their own fate without external interference. The Rastafari movement draws its spiritual strength precisely from Ethiopia's rich history and cultural heritage, believing that their unique spiritual energy and inspiration originated here. Their songs, filled with love for their homeland, the fight for justice, and spiritual reflection, resonate worldwide. These melodies intertwine with Ethiopian motifs, creating a unique, unparalleled cultural synthesis that touches and unites people's hearts regardless of nationality or faith. Ultimately, Ethiopia is not only a land steeped in deep, ancient history that goes back to the depths of centuries. It is a powerful cultural phenomenon whose values and ideas find resonance in the hearts of millions, helping to shape new communities and cultural connections across the globe. This land is a true space of living inspiration, continuing to influence contemporary social movements and cultural processes. It prompts us to rethink what it means to be a free person and encourages the search for one's spiritual and cultural path. When we turn our attention to the tribes that seem frozen in time, often associated with the ancient Stone Age epoch, it's remarkable to observe that they still live their own unique lives. In particular, the Hamar and Mercy tribes, living in the remote Omo Valley, demonstrate incredible resilience and unwavering adherence to traditional ways. These people are not simply exotic or part of a tourist spectacle. They fully embody a lifestyle devoid of modern technological conveniences and unnecessary comforts. Their dwellings are simple structures made of branches, animal hides, and other readily available materials, while their tools are primitive spears and hunting implements that have remained unchanged since ancient times. They hunt and gather food using traditional methods, with only a vague awareness of modern technology and digital advances. Their lives are influenced by ancient beliefs and rituals, and the surrounding world appears mysterious and alien to them. They do not seek to equip their lives with Western conveniences and prefer to preserve their own unique harmony. When you find yourself in their environment and begin to perceive their way of life, you might unexpectedly be asked, "Why do you need your smartphones? Nature provides everything necessary for life." At that moment, it becomes clear, these people do not know what technological progress is and are not in a hurry to replace their secluded, self-sufficient existence with modern standards. For travelers seeking to immerse themselves in authentic life, such places are unique experiences where they can witness how people lived in deep antiquity and come closer to the knowledge and emotions that reach far into the past. These journeys offer not only vivid, unforgettable impressions, but also the possibility to believe in an entirely different set of values. At the same time, it is important to remember that venturing into such remote areas carries certain dangers. A potential lack of understanding, cultural clashes, or even conflicts arising from the absence of a shared language and cultural background. The inhabitants of these small communities live in remote and isolated corners, expecting no approval from outsiders or recognition of their way of life. For them, their traditions, language, and customs are sacred, inviolable boundaries, which they reliably protect and pass down from generation to generation. That is why respecting their privacy and culture, without imposing your rules and values, becomes especially crucial for anyone undertaking such a journey. Only by abstaining from forcing their standards can you truly understand and feel the real beauty and uniqueness of these ancient tribes. The people living in these special places follow their own unwritten laws and adhere to deep traditions developed over centuries and transmitted from generation to generation. These customs reflect a unique culture shaped by historical circumstances, natural conditions, and spiritual beliefs. If you consider the idea that such order and way of life are foreign to the modern person, perhaps it would be better for you to stay in a familiar, comfortable world where everything operates according to rules and habits that are alien to your own. However, if you are drawn to genuine authenticity, a pursuit of true self and natural living, without masks or adornments, then these tribes can open your eyes to what it means to live in harmony with nature and your inner world. They demonstrate that there is an alternative way of existence, far from haste, fuss, and the imposed standards of modernity. And if you decide to embark on such a journey, be prepared for it to be more than just a sightseeing tour or an entertainment event. It will be a true encounter with people for whom development and technological progress are not goals, but alien concepts. These people live as their ancestors did for centuries, holding on to their traditions and resisting the trends of technological innovations. Ethiopia is not just a territory on the map. It is a kind of portal to another, extraordinary world where it seems as if time has stopped and is not moving at all. It is here that everything happens differently. The landscape, the environment, the people, all seem to exist outside of time. Instead of the familiar calendar that dictates its rules from morning to night, Ethiopians use their own reckoning of time, based on different cycles, and the concept of time here is turned upside down. This peculiarity only emphasizes the wonderful atmosphere that reigns in these places and marks the beginning of a magnificent journey into a world opposite to our habits. The architecture of local buildings is a true testament to an age-old, unaffected traditional culture that has not succumbed to modernization or industrialization. The structures look as if they have come straight out of an old black and white film, where history breathes, not modern technology. Every pattern, every street reminds us that there are places on Earth where progress has not yet taken over, where eternal values and traditions are preserved. This is not just exoticism or a tourist attraction, but a reality that prompts reflection on the meaning of existence. Why are we so eager to acquire new gadgets and implement new technologies when in these villages live people who live fully and harmoniously with their natural environment, without craving modern conveniences like Wi-Fi, smartphones, or the internet? Here you can not only see but also feel what it means to live without constant racing, fuss, and worries inherent in the modern world. In such moments, you suddenly realize true value lies in simplicity, in the ability to live without unnecessary noise and trivial concerns. After learning a little more about the mysterious and enchanting Ethiopia, you will surely have a question. Which fact or aspect of this unique world made the strongest impression on you? Share your impressions and reflections, because a world that seems distant and unfamiliar also attracts with its sincerity and depth.